Hi guys, I was in a van on a work trip a few weeks ago, scrolling through my investment portfolios on my phone, and I realized something. I have not had time to look at it in a few months, and I have not made any investments or done any review. And my first thought was, I have no time to look at this. And as I looked at my portfolio, most of it are still in US stocks. But as I look at the market conditions, the inflation, and all the political uncertainty, I realized something. I think it might be a good idea for me to look outside of the US. As work gets busy, I actually need to look at how I'm going to do investments with a more hands-off and automated approach to ensure some level of consistency, something that invests quietly in the background even when I'm too busy to check it. So this is fresh off my new investment strategy. I'm going to share with you guys what and how I'm investing right now, how I've set up my entire portfolio, and the rationale behind it. This is the system that I will be using consistently with minimal effort. And if you are someone who is busy like me, this might help you too. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just your friendly neighborhood lobangs sis. So feel free to like and subscribe or join my Telegram channel where I share good deals and personal finance updates. First, let's break the big myth. We are constantly trying to find the place that gives us the highest return, the best stock, the highest interest. But here's the truth that nobody talks about. It is your total contribution and the length of your investment period that matters most. Let me put it this way. When you are a student, the smartest move you can do, because you might not have an income, is to save more, to increase your total contribution. When you are able to work full-time, the real game changer will come in your earning power. The higher your earning power, the greater amount that you have to be able to invest. So if you have the ability to increase your income, focus on that. Because at every stage, the biggest lever isn't in the interest rate. It is in how much you are actually putting in. Personally, I've realized that the one thing that moves the needle for me isn't trying to time the market or find the next hot stock. It's really doing work I love and enjoy and using that to build my earning power. And as I earn more, I invest more. That is my real strategy. So for most of us, the way to go would be to grow our income, stay consistent, save, and increase your investment contribution. Let's say I start by investing $1,000 per month, assuming an average annual return of about 6%. That's around the S&P returns over the last 10 years if we were to factor in inflation. At the end of the 2 years, my balance is $26,639.85. Then I increase it to $2,000 per month for the next 2 years. And subsequently, as my earning power increases, I increase the contribution to $3,000 per month for the next 2 years. At the end of the 6 years, the total amount that I contributed will be about $145,000, and my final balance would be about $167,521.05. What if we compare that to just sticking to $1,000 per month? Then my total contribution would only be about $73,000 and my end balance would be $87,818.50. I earn 52% more interest just by increasing my contribution gradually. But here's where the snowball effect comes in. If I were to invest $1,000 a month for 20 years, I'll end up with $458,852.90. But if I invested the same starting amount of $1,000 and the same amount of overall contribution of $240K, but I squeezed the contribution to 10 years instead of 20 years, this means that I need to invest $2K over the 10 years instead of $1K over the 20 years. The returns would only be $328,319.43. Same overall contribution amount, but by cutting the time into half, I lose nearly 30% of the end value. And that is the magic of compounding. It's like rolling a snowball down a hill. The longer it gets to roll, the bigger it gets. The change I'm making now isn't about what I'm investing in, but setting up a system that keeps growing on its own. And I'm actually targeting an investment horizon of about 20 years. And trust me, I still have moments where I feel like doing nothing. So I built this approach to be so low effort that even the future me can keep up with it. In 2007, Warren Buffett made a $1 million bet. not just for fun but to prove a point. He said that a simple low-cost S&P index fund would outperform a basket of hedge funds over 10 years. In 2008, T&Cs of Protégé Partners accepted the challenge and they set up a nearly decade-long contest. The result, Warren Buffett won easily, and actually T&Cs conceded defeat a year before the end of their challenge. Warren Buffett's Vanguard index fund returned about 7.1% annually, while the hedge fund only managed just 2.2% annually. What this means is that $100,000 of investment in the S&P 500 index fund would have grown to about $185,000 in 9 years, while the same amount in the hedge fund would only have reached an amount of $121,000. That is the moment I realized that actually all you need is low-cost passive investing. It isn't just good enough, it actually beats most professional hedge fund managers. So I'm looking for an index fund that is passive, low-cost, and globally diversified. Even though Warren Buffett chose the S&P 500, I am personally already very highly invested in the S&P 500, and so I don't really need that. Instead, this is the tweak that I'm making to my own portfolio. Have you ever heard of John Bogle's famous 3-fund portfolio? John Bogle is the father of passive investing, and he came up with this original 3-fund portfolio where it aims for optimal long-term returns with reduced risk by broadly diversifying across different kinds of asset classes, across geographies, all while keeping the cost minimal. The core aim of this strategy is achieved by dividing investments among 3 specific types of funds. The first one is a US total stock market fund, the second one is an international stock fund, and the third one is a total bond fund. But for a non-US investor like me, we can afford to simplify things even further. Instead of a separate US and international fund, I'm consolidating it into a single globally diversified ETF, and after much research, I have chosen VWRA. That is the Vanguard All-World UCITS ETF that is located in the London Stock Exchange. Why? Because it is actually Irish domiciled, so that means for someone who is a non-US citizen, we do not get charged a 30% dividend tax, but only a 15%, and we also do not get charged a US estate tax. VWRA is an accumulating ETF, meaning that dividends are reinvested automatically. It's a pretty hands-off approach. And finally, it holds 3,600 stocks across the world: US, Japan, UK, China, and emerging markets. While S&P has done better historically, VWRA gives me the exposure to the other markets and the diversification that I'm looking for. I'm setting aside an investment horizon of 20 years all the way until retirement. So if you are young and you have 20 years of runway, you should definitely start sooner, because the earlier you start, the more you can compound and let your investments grow. John Bogle has the other part, which is a total bond market ETF. But here's where I do things a little bit different. Instead of buying a global bond ETF, I treat my CPF SA as my bond allocation. Bonds and fixed income investments are typically safer than stocks or ETFs. Fixed income could be your investments that pay you dividends like REITs or your dividend stocks. Why have I chosen to put into the CPF SA? Is because there is a 4% risk-free interest that you are guaranteed, and you also get tax relief when you top up. It's basically Singapore's version of high-grade bond but better. And since I have an investment horizon of 20 years, it doesn't really matter for me that this money gets locked up. For your CPF SA top-ups, it is actually better for you to contribute at the beginning of the month rather than the end of the month or the end of the year. As you can see, if all things remaining constant, the same starting amount, the same contribution amount, and the same average rate of return, you actually earn more just by putting your money in earlier due to the power of compounding. And some of you might be asking, what about SRS? At the moment, I don't have a high enough income to warrant a top-up for my SRS, so that's not an option for me. I also keep my money in Singapore savings bonds and money market fund for emergencies and short-term goals. But depending on your life stage, there are some rules in the investment world that helps give a framework to allocate your investments according to your your age. There is one called the Rule of 100 that aims to help you balance your risk and return over time. The Rule of 100 is really simple. Take 100 minus your age, and that is the amount that you should invest in equities. So for example, if you are 30 years old, then you should put 30% in bonds or fixed income and 70% in equities, stocks or ETFs. So if you are younger, you can just put 20% or even 10% in bonds or fixed income, and then you can put 80% into equities, stocks or ETFs. Because if you are in your 20s, in your lifetime, you will go through a few market crashes and you have time to recover. And as you grow older, maybe when you are in your 60s, then you want to put 60 to 70% in bonds or fixed income and 30% into equities. But you want to take note that this is not a rule, just a framework for you to consider. You can tweak it according to your preference and risk tolerance. So what is my current system that I just set up? So in order to invest in VWRA monthly, I have decided to go with interactive brokers. So what I've done is that I'm starting with $500 of recurring investment to put into VWRA via IBKR every month. But I will also have some liquid cash that I can still be ready to deploy when needed. But if you are a fresh graduate, you can start with $50 or $100. Whatever you do, it is good to start with a small amount that you are comfortable with, that helps you sleep at night, especially if you don't know your risk tolerance level yet. I like to think of it this way. Invest your bubble tea money. What is bubble tea money? Bubble tea money is the money that you would have spent on a simple indulgence that yields you no health benefit. It could be even that expensive latte that you could save up and just buy a cheap cup of coffee and save $4. Assuming you buy a coffee every day, and just by making this one switch, 7 times $4 saved is $28. You can easily use this $28 guilt-free to put into investments, because the other option would have been that you would have spent it away and it would have been gone anyway. So what risk is that? Whenever you create a recurring investment, remember to transfer your money into your IBKR account to prevent any margin charges. If you don't have an IBKR account, feel free to sign up via the link below to support this channel. And if you already have an IBKR account, I'll show you how you can create a recurring investment. First, you want to click on the human icon on the IBKR desktop version. Then you'll want to go to IBKR pricing plan and select tiered pricing. Next, under trade, select recurring investments. Then choose VWRA under LSE ETF. Set your amount, set your monthly deduction date, and confirm. And you are good to go! This change wasn't part of my plan, but life shifted and my schedule changed. And I realized that I needed something that I could stick with even when I'm tired, busy, or don't really know what to invest. And this is by no means a recommendation of what to buy. I'm just sharing with you what I buy and my rationale behind it. And if you have found this useful, help me smash the like button, subscribe, and join my Telegram channel for more personal finance content and deals. And if you're wondering where to park your short-term cash, you can watch the next video on the best high-yield savings account right now. I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next video.